So before we invite Chris to moderate this session, can I please have Emily and Maggie please kindly introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Amélie Dionne-Charret, and I'm the co-founder and managing director of Alea Insurance. Alea Insurance is a Hong Kong leading brokerage insurance firm that specializes in medical insurance. So we advise individuals, families, as well as companies and organizations here in Hong Kong, but also in APAC in regards to health insurance and employee health benefits. I've been in Hong Kong for over 11 years, and when I moved to Hong Kong over a decade ago with a 5-month-old baby from New York City, I thought I would only stay 3 years. But I founded my business and it grew organically. My husband joined me in the business and we've made Hong Kong our home. I'm passionate about empowering people with trusted health information so they can make the best decisions for themselves and their loved ones. I've also been heavily involved with the Canadian Chamber, so it's great to reconnect with you all today. I'm a governor of the Chamber in the pandemic, a very difficult time, as everyone can remember here in Hong Kong. I was chair for 2 years. Very proud of the fact that we doubled our membership during that time by launching the affiliate alumni program. And just wanted to say that I'm a proud Canadian. I'm from Montreal. I'm also a McGill grad, and I'm a lawyer specialized in medical law and bioethics. So really happy to be with you all today. Thank you.
Right, I'm Maggie Lowe. I'm the Life and Health Technology Lead for Office for Attracting Strategic Enterprises, short for OASIS. We sit under the Financial Secretaries to step up our effort to welcome international and mainland tech companies to set up or expand in Hong Kong. We focus on 4 sectors: life and health, AI and data science, fintech, advanced manufacturing, and new energies. We prioritize 2 types of company: global names as well as companies with leading edge technology. And what we care especially about is what type of technology, what type of talent they're introducing to Hong Kong. How are they contributing to the national goal for Hong Kong to become an international innovation and technology sector? I have spent 1 year working at UBC, talking about Canadian connection. But I didn't do the Google map. I ended up in UBC Okanagan, hadn't realized the travel distance and the winter driving, the UBC Vancouver, huge learning curve. But so that's my job, is to welcome international and mainland companies to set up in Hong Kong. Thank you.
So now we're going to first ask Maggie. Could you tell us what kind of feedback and challenges did you encounter from the companies that you met during your trip to Canada?
Yes, I went to, one of my jobs is to go out there to different priority markets to promote Hong Kong. As Johnny mentioned, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what Hong Kong is, and we are diversifying our economy, adopting a south and north dual engine approach. South of Hong Kong will continue to become an international financial hub, so strengthened as a financial hub. North of Hong Kong, we're devoting 1/3 of our land for innovation technology purposes to complement the development of the Greater Bay Area. So last November, I had the privilege to spend a week in Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto, a side of Canada I haven't been. And the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive. Still quite a few misunderstanding about Hong Kong as just being an international financial hub. There were some concerns about IP protection, which is easily addressed, and they were pleasantly surprised about our different funding schemes to incentivize all companies just to do R&D in Hong Kong. And one thing they very much enjoy is our Hong Kong efficiency, government efficiency, to make things happen. So that's some of our feedback. In terms of is the business opportunity as well. So I look after the life and health sector, and we have Hong Kong have introduced some really great measures to incentivize Canadian biotech company to register their new drugs, to register their devices in Hong Kong. And if they're registered and used in public hospital, then there's a green channel allowing those devices and drugs to be used in 45 Greater Bay Area hospitals in Hong Kong. And it is the hope that the real data gathered from those 45 hospitals will contribute to the formal registration of NMPA, the China Regulatory Authority. So there's a direct pathway to do business, to come here to do business in Hong Kong.
All right, thank you very much, Maggie. So the next question is for Emily. So you mentioned about building a business. So what is it like to build a business from scratch in Hong Kong? And what makes Hong Kong such an attractive place for business? Emily?
It's about adapting, just like we are right now. And that's fine, because life is about adapting, and as an entrepreneur, we all know how much we have to adapt, right, to every situation. So kudos to you and the organization for quickly adapting ourselves to the panel. What it was like to build a business from scratch in Hong Kong, well, when I landed in Hong Kong 11 years ago, I knew no one. So I had zero capital, zero network, zero experience, and zero expertise. So really started from the bottom. How did I address the fact that I didn't have any capital? At the time, my husband was working and was the main breadwinner. Afterwards, as we decided to co-found the business together, he joined me in this entrepreneurial adventure. We used our savings, and we also got into debt. And early in the pandemic, we raised money, and that helped us throughout the pandemic. And today we're at a really good spot, and we have a profitable business. How did I address that we didn't have any expertise? As a lawyer specialized in medical law and bioethics, I used my analytical and research skills here in Hong Kong and rapidly, met hundreds of people in the healthcare industry, doctors, visited hospitals, and just built over 6 months to a year expertise on the local healthcare system and on the local health insurance landscape. The network. Well, I quickly realized, and I didn't know this before moving to Hong Kong, that being Canadian and Francophone in Hong Kong was a huge plus. We all know, the ties between Hong Kong and Canada. They're extremely deep. There are over 300,000 Canadian passport holders in the city. I remember when I was chair, we had the number of over 170,000 people in the city that have studied in Canada. And so I rapidly got involved with the Canadian community. I joined the McGill Society, I joined the Canadian Chamber, and those were very strategic and excellent decisions. I was able to build my network rapidly and also make strong friendships along the way. And in any organizations, you have givers, takers, and whiners. And so I decided to whine. Just kidding. Just kidding. What made the difference is that I decided to be a giver and get involved. So with the Canadian Chamber and with Madeleine Behan, I got involved with the ESBC committee, got involved with the Women's Committee. I co-chaired the ball 1 year and was elected chair for 2 years. And I believe that if you want to make a difference and if you want to build a network, you have to give and be a giver. As for the Francophone aspect, well, pre-pandemic, the French community was the fastest growing expat community in Hong Kong. And they had very specific health insurance needs. So strategically, I decided to work with French insurance providers and to get involved also with the French community. And that paid off because we've been nominated as the exclusive representative in Hong Kong, China, and Singapore for the expat arm of the French social security system. And lastly, building experience. Well, experience is only over time and trial and errors. So I'm very transparent about the fact that we made a lot of mistakes as we build our business. But most importantly, and this is something I tell my team every day, is it's okay to make mistakes. The first thing you need to do is to learn from it and quickly move on. No point in beating yourself up. You have to move on. So that's how I created my business from scratch in Hong Kong. And maybe, and these are things that you've heard earlier or probably that you know, Hong Kong is just a wonderful and business-friendly city. Access to Asia, access to China, You know, within a 5-hour flight radius, you have access to half the world's population. Low tax regime, it's so easy to set up a company. You only need $1 you're registered within a few days. Strong financial and banking sector. Foreigners can own their companies 100%. And it's such a great environment to meet people. We've said this earlier in other panels, but people are so open. Everyone is accessible in Hong Kong, and everyone is open to business opportunities. So it's just been a wonderful, wonderful place for us to do business here.
All right, thank you very much, Emily, for the sharing. And I'm going to pass over to Chris.
I just wanted to say some opening remarks, but I feel that they're probably redundant by now. But one of the things that I did want to point out is that, you know, as a representative of the government, and I credit Maggie as being another representative of the government of Hong Kong, we're a facilitator. Whether we're shepherding companies into the Hong Kong ecosystem, or through foreign direct investment, or driving growth through the introductions of funding and partnership opportunities, these opportunities are growing. And we credit the Canadian companies that play in Canada or the Canadian companies that play in Hong Kong with driving this growth in the overall economy of both jurisdictions. What I want to talk about right now is the pipeline. And the pipeline is a two-way path. One is the Canadian companies actively looking to get into Asia via the Hong Kong platform, via talking to Invest HK or HKTDC or the Canadian Chamber. But we also want to talk about the Canadians who are active in Hong Kong, Canadians who perhaps went to Hong Kong, and I'm going to cite Emily Duchare as a perfect example of that, who made it work on their own by tapping into organizations like the Canadian Chamber. And I'm very proud to be moderating, even though I've missed a good chunk of it. I'm very proud to be moderating the three of you. So I do actually want to ask a question that can be posed to Ben, Emily, and Maggie. And that is, in your opinion, what innovations do you see happening in Hong Kong that is driving Hong Kong's growth now and in the future?
Who would you like to start first?
Any one of you, actually.
Then how about Maggie?
Okay. Well, there's thank you, Chris. As I said, Oasis, the Hong Kong government departments are focused on 4 sectors. So we see huge amount of growth in those 4 sectors: life and health, AI, data science, fintech, and advanced manufacturing, new energy. So we're devoting a lot of work, in particular AI. The 2 technology parks have established their own AI supercomputer center. We've introduced financial grants to incentivize companies to bring in their workforce to Hong Kong as well. So all aspects, but I'm obviously biased because I look after life and health. We have 5 universities are top 70, 2 of our medical schools are top 40. So we're seeing a huge number of biotech companies from mainland and increasingly from overseas using Hong Kong to do research and development, doing clinical trials in Hong Kong. And last year in November, in the 3rd technology park, the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation Technology Park have established the Greater Bay Area International Clinical Trial Platform as a one-stop shop to speed up the way we do clinical trials in Hong Kong. At the same time, in the Shenzhen side, they have a clinical trial center as well. So in the long run, the hope is the data, the clinical data gathered from the Hong Kong side and the Greater Bay Area side will meet national and international guidelines. And back in the 2023 policy address, Hong Kong government has announced the establishment of our own regulatory approval for drugs and devices called CMPR, Center for Medical Products and Regulation. And again, the goal is in the long run, if you choose to register in Hong Kong, your drugs and devices in Hong Kong, it will meet both international and national guidelines. So tons of exciting space here. And one thing we don't mention is our data set. We have excellent data set. When we look at, we need good data. We need good data to form OpenAI to use in all sorts of applications. We love collecting data. Our Hong Kong Cancer Registry has cancer by cell type dating back to 1983 to now, and it's open to public. So that's just one type of data. So we have lots and lots of data waiting for companies to come and take advantage of it. Our hospital authority has 11.5 million data for 29 years. And this last year's policy address, we have established a real-time, data application center to open up that data set for partnership with university or companies wishing to tap into that data. So it's a very exciting time.
Actually, on the subject of life science, I just actually realized that we actually haven't properly introduced Dr. Ben Thompson. He's a professor from the University of Waterloo and the CEO and scientific director for the Center for High Vision Research here in Hong Kong. I guess it's remiss of us for you not to properly introduce yourself. If you don't mind doing so, as well as possibly addressing my question, that would be great, Ben.
Sure thing. Hi, Chris. Can you hear me okay? Hi, everybody. Great to be part of today's panel. As Chris mentioned, I'm a professor at University of Waterloo, and I also run the Centre for Eye and Vision Research, which is a InnoHK-funded centre through the Hong Kong government. And the InnoHK funding is designed to partner international universities with local universities in areas of particular research strength. And the funding is particularly geared towards commercialization and public access to research outcomes. The centre that we have is in partnership with Hong Kong Polytechnic University. And the core of the centre is the two optometry schools, the two universities. And then we bring in researchers from a broad range of different areas to address key issues in eye and vision health. In response to Chris's question, I guess I can speak to my experience with the funding that Hong Kong is providing for innovation and technology. And it really is orders of magnitude more than I've seen anywhere else that I've worked in the world, even in Canada. It's a real concerted effort to consolidate activity in research and development, to attract international researchers to Hong Kong, and to provide resources so that people can really take their research ideas and translate them into the real world. And this is something that I haven't seen anywhere else. So Hong Kong is really leading the way in this area.
Thank you, Ben. I'd like to actually reframe the question for Emily, because you play in the insurtech space. I'm just wondering, what type of innovations are you seeing within, say, financial services and fintech in Hong Kong?
I think the most important innovation that we've witnessed in the health insurance industry, just to be even more specific, is the adoption of telemedicine. And the pandemic has pushed that tremendously. The irony is that when I did my master's in medical law and bioethics in the UK, I did my thesis on telemedicine. That was in 2007, and at the time, it seemed so foreign, impossible, and there were a lot of regulatory obstacles to telemedicine. And through the pandemic here in Hong Kong, we've seen most insurance providers adopt the service and give it to their end users, to the policyholders, the consumers. And it's had two benefits. One, for consumers, it's easy, accessible, and cheap, right? Convenience. And for the insurance providers, it's been able to make them save money because, in fact, the majority of the telemedicine medical consultations do not lead to a follow-up consultation, do not lead to a recommendation of the person seeing a doctor in person. So it has allowed for a triage system where the end user, the patient, and the insurance provider are winners. And then in terms of just what I see in Hong Kong for the insurance industry and the potential transformation, I think there are many. But we have to understand from where we're starting. It's dinosaur age in insurance. Insurance is known to be a very conservative and traditional industry, and that's okay. And thank God AI is going to push things. And there are three areas where I think that AI can potentially completely transform the insurance industry here in Hong Kong and worldwide. One, by analyzing the risk, the medical risk. So it's going to enhance the risk assessment and underwriting. When you purchase an individual medical policy here in Hong Kong, there's discrimination against medical pre-existing conditions. And one of the difficult jobs of insurers is to assess one's health based on what? BMI, your state of health, your chronic conditions, if any, your age. That is very time consuming, but AI can potentially transform this completely and allow for insurers to more precisely, exactly assess one's risk. So that's one potential transformation. The other is about claims. So we all know that an insurance company is only good if they can, reimburse your claims rapidly, efficiently, and honestly. And you'd be surprised, claims today are still extremely manual, it's clerical work, and there's so much errors and human error. We know this because as the advisor and the broker, we also service our clients throughout the year, and we're the ones that have to intervene when there's an issue with claims. But AI can potentially transform this and make the process error-proof and a lot more quick and efficient. And lastly, I would say personalized health. With AI, insurance providers, brokers like ourselves, could provide efficient, personalized advice to consumers. This is going to be increasingly important because we are seeing a rise in chronic medical conditions. In fact, according to the Department of Health in Hong Kong, 40% of the population in Hong Kong suffers from a chronic medical condition. And so personalized healthcare through AI can potentially transform insurance, but also the healthcare industry.
Thank you. So the next question I'd like to ask is actually the both sides of the coin, the opportunities and the challenges. What did you find were the specific opportunities for you when you first ventured into Hong Kong? And I want to specifically ask Ben and Emily in that regard. Why did you choose Hong Kong? What was the low-hanging fruit, and what were the opportunities that came about through your efforts? I'll say Ben first.
Thanks, Chris, and I apologize in advance for the background noise where I am at the moment. So the opportunity was really the funding that the Hong Kong government were offering for international partners. And this is extremely unusual in research and development, to have a government that allowed international entities to participate in funding schemes. So this was a huge opportunity. And I think Emily touched on this before. We have an amazing alumni base in Hong Kong from the University of Waterloo. And I think for many universities across Canada, and actually the alumni base as well, provided excellent support and opportunities for us to land and be successful with this scheme. So I think it's the combination of the connection between Canada and Hong Kong, and also the kind of laser focus of the Hong Kong government funding at the moment on successful R&D with international partners.
I became an accidental entrepreneur. So before moving to Hong Kong, I didn't have this grand plan. It happened because I was seeing on the ground some opportunities, such as the need for an advisor in regards to health insurance. So we know that Sun Life, Manulife, and many other insurers are well implanted here in Hong Kong. But I saw the need for a specialist broker and advisor that would guide companies and individuals through the process of choosing the right medical financial protection. So that's the opportunity I saw. I also saw the opportunity of creating a business very rapidly. Obviously, the downside of that is that, you can fail faster. So in Hong Kong, you grow faster, but you can also fail faster. The cost of living is extremely high. The cost of operating a business can be extremely high, right? So these are things that people have to factor in. And then if I can talk about the challenges within the industry, the insurance and health insurance industry, I think that the biggest challenge we're facing today is medical inflation. It's extremely high in Hong Kong. It's extremely acute here. It's a worldwide issue. But if you look at public sector, Hospital Authority has issued a report, and they say that in the past years, it's been on average 8%, so way above, overall general inflation. And then if we look at private sector, it's more than 8%. According to Hospital Authority, it's 10%. But if you look at the medical providers, the ones that work within their clinics, it's way above 10%. We're looking at 15%. And that has influenced health insurance premiums tremendously, because each year for companies and individuals, their premiums are increasing by, say, 15%, even more. You know, we work with some insurance partners, their premiums increased by 20 or 30%. We advised a lot of SMEs in Hong Kong who in 2025, when we were renewing their plan, had a 40% increase. So I think the biggest challenge for the industry, for the healthcare, but also the health insurance industry in Hong Kong is really managing the rising costs. That's going to be our number one challenge and the number one issue.
On that note, in terms of the challenges that you've encountered, Ben, can you provide some detail?
Certainly. So challenges include the geopolitical situation. So obviously, we have some guidelines from the Canadian government about how federally and provincially funded institutions like the University of Waterloo can connect with China and Hong Kong. So far, we haven't hit any hurdles that have slowed our operations down, but this is something that we have to be very cognizant about. One of the other issues we had in the early stages was hiring internationally into Hong Kong. But that has actually improved over recent years. We've been able to attract more international staff into our operation. But I guess those are the two major things that we face at the moment. One challenge that I thought we would face would be intellectual property management, but actually that's proven to be much more straightforward than I'd anticipated.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to actually go to an overall challenge, and I think I'll have Maggie address this one first. It's becoming apparent to a lot of people in the audience and in the media today that China is actually sort of diverging from the West in terms of technology and investment philosophy. Does that divergence in technology prove itself to be a challenge or an opportunity? And Maggie, if you take that one on.
So you are, Chris, are you trying to say that China's diversifying their markets? The tech companies are diversifying their markets?
No, actually what I meant is that in terms of technological innovations, some people could say that, China is leaping way ahead of the West in terms of technological achievements. In some regards, the technology platforms are completely different. Yes. Is this a challenge or is this an opportunity?
It's an opportunity, absolute opportunity, I think. I can speak for mainland biotech. Increasingly, we see multinational pharmaceutical companies tapping into mainland companies because of it's not just innovation for mainland, it's innovation for global, and they are keen to bring those mainland companies to go internationally and ideally via Hong Kong. So we're seeing a lot of that. So our office, Oasis, we established at the end of 2022. And so far we have attracted we welcome over 66 tech companies, committed to bringing in 42 billion, creating 70,000 new jobs in Hong Kong. And quite a lot of them are using Hong Kong. Quite a few of them are from mainland companies, tech companies, using Hong Kong to do research. And as Professor Thompson mentioned, Hong Kong government has a lot of fundings, huge amount of fundings, often on a dollar-to-dollar matching basis, just to incentivize you to do some R&D in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is one of the great platforms because there's 28 of them, all situated at Science Park, 14 of them on life and health, the other 14 on AI and robotics. So when mainland tech companies using Hong Kong, they are to do R&D, they can partner with Hong Kong, and not just with Hong Kong researchers, but with top-tier international experts in different specialties as well. So I see huge opportunity for mainland companies using Hong Kong to go abroad. At the same time, we welcome Canadian companies and overseas companies. We can't do it. We can't. Mainland don't have all the answers, so we welcome precisely why we have our office is to welcome international companies to come to Hong Kong to fill in our innovation technology ecosystem gap. And one of them is rare diseases. So we're very keen to attract companies who are focused on rare disease treatments or gene and cell therapy to come to Hong Kong, taking advantage of our streamlined drug registration and then used in our children's hospital. You talked about the raising costs of healthcare. I'm pleased to say that we are going through a major healthcare reform, starting with the Primary Healthcare Commission, and that was launched last year. And back in 2016, we already launched a 10-year hospital redevelopment plan, establishment of 3 new hospitals, and redeveloping all the existing hospitals. So going from community right up to tertiary care, we're going through major changes, and that hopefully will drive some of the costs down. So yeah, we welcome companies to come and fill in our ecosystem, Chris. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm just wondering if Ben and Emily also have an opinion on this divergence of technological innovations between East and West.
Chris, I have to say that I haven't really come across too many issues in that area. So far, my experience has been that everything's been quite well aligned and we've been able to collaborate effectively.
Okay. I don't have a lot of expertise on this. However, I can only see innovation in China as being, a huge advantage and a lot of opportunities. From my experience, where we're seeing a little bit of pushback is in regards to data privacy, especially in the health space. As we know, it's very sensitive information. And so we do work with insurance providers that have claim servicing companies in mainland China, and while we're servicing these clients in Hong Kong, we've actually had pushback. Our clients have refused sending medical information to mainland China. So we've had to creatively work around this and send it to other claim servicing centers. So I would imagine that one of the obstacles or things we need to consider in the future is in regards to data privacy.
Apologies for putting everyone on the spot in terms of, I guess, a heated question, but it's also a topic that we encounter almost every day in our business. So the next question I'd like to ask is probably right up everyone's alley. What would you say are the top advantages for Canadian tech companies looking to crack into Hong Kong? Why would a Canadian company want to do this in the first place?
Well, I'll take a go. That's what I do every day. So first is if you're looking to diversify your market, APAC is home to 60% of the world's population, so it's a market you cannot ignore. And John mentioned in the earlier panel that the different you have to see it in even APAC, different markets. But if you have to choose one spot, Hong Kong is the only strategic location that will serve mainland Hong Kong and APAC. We have 4 hours away, flights away from all the financial markets, 5 hours away from access to half the world's population. So if you were to choose one spot, then Hong Kong would be the ideal spot. Secondly is Hong Kong government's commitment. Since 2015, we've invested over 200 billion into all things innovation tech. The 2 technology parks, Cyberport and Science Park, both established over 20 years, home to over at least around 2,000 tech companies in there, and both are expanding due to popular demand. That leads us to the 3rd technology park. So we have financial commitment from the government, we have land commitment from the government, devoting 7 times the science park for all things innovation purposes, Northern Metropolis. And now we have policy, we are seeing policy at the 3rd technology park, the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation Park. There'll be special policy on free flow of data, free flow of biosample. That's what we're working on, free flow of talent. You talk about talent, and the beauty of that park is we're building a bridge, 2 bridges. So Hong Kong, we have relaxed and introduced measures, even more measures, to welcome overseas talent to come to Hong Kong. For example, the top talent pass. So if you're a graduate from a certain top-tier university, or you earn income that can support yourself and your loved ones, you're most welcome to come to Hong Kong just to explore. just to explore, and then we'll put you on a work visa once you've gained full-time employment. So that's second, is the Hong Kong government's commitment and the opportunities ahead. And third is our fundraising options. With tech companies, the R&D journey is very long. For life and health, to come up with a new drug, it takes an average 10 to 12 years, 2 billion US. So it needs a lot of money. Hong Kong government, has been mentioned, we have introduced a lot of funding schemes, largely managed by the Innovation Technology Commission, to incentivize just to do some R&D. I'll give you some examples so you get an idea of how generous our funding schemes are. We have the enterprise, to do in-house R&D, we have the enterprise support scheme, dollar-to-dollar matching, up to 10 million Hong Kong dollars. Project duration is 2 years. IP belongs to you. We don't want anything from you. We just want you to do some R&D. Should you wish to partner with our top-tier university or research institution, you can take advantage of the partnership program, research program. And that the project limits goes up, the project duration goes up to 3 years. And we have top-tier university. We want to see some more translational research. So last year, 2 years ago, we've earmarked 10 billion Hong Kong dollars on the Race Plus project to incentivize industry to work with university to turn an idea to prototype to commercial stage. Project duration 5 years over 2 phases. And we're pleased to say that we've approved 24 projects already, and the second round is coming, and the applicants are coming from university. So if there's Canadian tech companies wish to engage with our university, we are your super connector. And talking about, so Hong Kong government, we have also fundings, different types of fundings. So we have the Innovation Technology Venture Fund that's already up and running with list of co-investment partners you can approach. And that's expanding, and we'll be inviting more co-investment partners. We have the Hong Kong Investment Corporation, and so 62 billion Hong Kong dollars. You can invest through funds of funds or direct equity investment. And then last year, 2024 policy address, we've earmarked another 10 billion for another funds of funds specifically for tech. And Invest Hong Kong, we have a dedicated family office unit to welcome family offices. So far, we have set ourselves a KPI of attracting over 200 single family offices to set up in Hong Kong, and they are ready to invest. So far, we're pleased to say we're on track. So we should be seeing a growth pool of family offices willing to invest. And lastly, we have IPO. So we have the Chapter 18A and now extended to Chapter 18C. So lots and lots of options. Oh, and additionally, we have the 2 Technology Park have their own venture fund as well to invest in tenant companies. So lots and lots of fundraising options to consider. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a great answer.
This is my job.
I would just add, if I may, Hong Kong is one of the easiest places to do business in the world, right? And I think that according to rankings, I think Hong Kong is placed 5th in the world as one of the best places to do business for all the reasons you put forward. And I think that's why these events, like the Trans-Pacific Conference, are so helpful. I think that Canadians need to be exposed to the business perspective and a different perspective than what they read in the news every day in Canada. And nothing replaces coming to Hong Kong and seeing it from your own eyes. So that would be my recommendation.
Just, I think there was a very, very comprehensive answers, and I think the amazing funding programs that are available are a huge attraction. Just one other additional comment. In our centre, where we've had startup companies, 2 of those companies have a startup in Hong Kong and in Canada. And those 2 companies have a collaboration agreement between them. And that allows them to access both North American and Asian markets, and also incubation infrastructure, both in Canada and in Hong Kong. And that's been a really successful structure.
Great, thank you. I think at this stage, it would be great if we would allow the audience to ask our panel some questions. So I'd like to ask the Canadian Chamber staff on site, is it possible to let the audience take the mic?
Thank you. Rosemary Goder from Systematic Edge. So this is a question for Amelie and anybody else who would like to answer it. So you had mentioned that when you came, one of the things you learned was that challenges and mistakes would be made. And my question would be, what mistake did you guys make that helped you learn the most? And I can open that up to anybody after.
Thank you, Rose. That's a really good question. I think that we lost focus in the pandemic wanting to diversify our business too much, and that was a mistake. We built another business called Healthy Matters. Healthy Matters is an online health information platform here in Hong Kong. The content is available in English and traditional Chinese. We had built a team of over 10 people just producing content, super high SEO, etc. And we were not able to make that business profitable or could not foresee that. But also, it diverted a lot of our energy and focus away from the medical insurance brokerage business. And so we've learned from that. And unfortunately, we had to restructure in the spring of 2023 and let go over 10 people. Very hard to do. And we also had to accept that something, one of our babies that we had invested so much time, care, and heart into, Healthy Matters, was no longer going to be our focus, that we were going to refocus on health insurance. So that was a mistake that we've learned. When you build a business, you have to stay laser focused and be very disciplined about your time allocation, where you're putting your thoughts, where you're putting your energy, your time. And even within that business where we were now that we're more focused in the pandemic, because we weren't seeing any newcomers coming to Hong Kong in the pandemic, nor new companies setting up, we thought, hey, let's diversify, okay? Let's expand beyond our pool of international companies that we serve and advise and beyond the expats that we serve. Let's start advising local Hong Kong people with local health insurance products. Major failure. We hired people that spoke Cantonese. We hired people that spoke Mandarin. It's just because it was too much of a stretch for us at the time. And so again, we tried to diversify. We lost focus on what we're really good at, where we have the right to win, and what works. So I would say to entrepreneurs, look at what's working already and amplify that. And be very careful. I'm not saying it's impossible, but be very careful about diversifying or going beyond your original focus when that particular thing is working.
So I might add, I see companies setting up in Hong Kong all the time, and when they land, that's just the beginning. So we want to see them succeed in Hong Kong through our connections, and we want them use Hong Kong to succeed elsewhere. So with a medical device company we've come across, is half the time it's bringing your team ready, because I'm ready, and I want you to be ready to get your medical device registration done. I have business contact lined up for you, so your English translation, have your engineers ready, because we have the contacts ready for you. So it's about getting your staff, often they relocate their senior management staff to come and set up in Hong Kong first, but the working level contact is also important, because we want to move very quickly. Once you land in Hong Kong, we want you to see some quick wins in Hong Kong. So for example, Make in Hong Kong, it's actually not as difficult, as challenging as you think to qualify Make in Hong Kong, and then you can enjoy tax tariff to export overseas. Yeah. So. Thank you.
I think for me, the thing that I didn't expect was the difference in, I guess, working in decision-making cultures between Canadian institutions and Hong Kong institutions. And it took some time to work out how to navigate a new environment, a regulatory procurement environment, and working environment, and to enable the connection between our Canadian team and our Hong Kong team. It worked out in the end, but that was something that I wasn't anticipating, and actually did take a lot of time to execute.
All right.
I'd like to add something to that, to the answer. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen from the Canadian pipeline, specifically Canadian companies who are trying to break into the Hong Kong market, is a gross misjudgment of their own competitiveness. And I cite that a lot of companies who are making it big or expanding rapidly in Canada think that, and, you know, it is no fault of anyone, I suppose. They think that they are competitive in the Asian marketplace. And they sometimes forget that actually Asia is an extremely dynamic and fast-moving economy, full of companies that are hyper-competitive, the best of the best from their respective jurisdictions. And sometimes when you come from say, a highly regulated or a smaller market, you forget that actually in Hong Kong, it is like a microcosm of working globally. And suddenly you're not just competing against other small players, you're actually competing against the best representatives of many jurisdictions all coming together in Hong Kong, all trying to crack a large, super economic region, but it is hyper competitive. And that is often not taken into account in an expansion strategy.
Thanks, Chris. But one of the things I probably would like to add is we need business opportunity, another reason to set up in Hong Kong. One of the things we do is to help companies to have all the information they need to make an informed decision whether to commit to Hong Kong. And one of the jobs we do is connect. So we have connected Canadian companies with local partners to see if it will work in Hong Kong, and if so, how they should adjust their products or services to meet the Hong Kong on the mainland or APAC market. So something we understand and we can work with the company.
All right, so Chris, we still have 5 minutes, so maybe we can open the floor for another questions. All right, anyone would like to ask another questions? So there's no more questions from the floor. So Chris, would you like to?
I have one more question, and it's specifically for Maggie. And so because I love Maggie's responses. They're fantastic. They're in-depth.
Good.
They're comprehensive. So Maggie, you were recently in Canada. I believe you stated earlier that you actually did a roadshow in Ontario and Quebec. And so you have a unique perspective. You know, you're representing OASIS, representing the Hong Kong government. What was the feedback that you got from companies you met during your time in Canada?
I think I've sort of answered that previously before. There's some misconception about IP and cybersecurity, which can be easily addressed. We practice common law, and we are well ranking on IP protection. So they're personally surprised the Hong Kong government's diversifying our economy and how generous we are in our funding schemes and the fundraising options. And lastly, there's increasingly the Greater Bay Area. So when you get in, going into mainland is such a huge market, but the Greater Bay Area is a lot more doable, a lot more sort of concrete market to tap into using Hong Kong. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I believe that we're now out of time.
And should we all give a big round of applause to our moderator and panelists one more time? Thank you very much for your amazing sharing. And thank you very much, Chris and Ben, for your time and your effort. Thank you.